You know that feeling when you scroll through a dozen metalworking rigs, see glossy photos of a 4x4 plasma table, and think, this will finally let me cut automotive panels at home without a mess? Then the moment you pull the box out of the shipping crate, the machine feels heavier than expected, the software looks like it belongs on a 1990s CNC mill, and you're left wondering whether you just bought a pricey paperweight. That hesitation is real, and it's why I'm breaking down the Eastwood VersaCut 4 feet 4 inches CNC plasma table before you click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, this isn't just a plasma cutter you bolt onto a workbench. Eastwood markets it as an all-in-one kit, a 40-amp plasma torch, a sturdy 4-foot square gantry, a dedicated CNC controller with an LCD screen, and the power cables you need for both 110V and 220V outlets. In practice, that means you can plug it straight into a typical home garage outlet or, if you have a 3-phase supply, you can switch to the higher voltage for a bit more cutting power. The dual voltage flexibility is one of the biggest practical wins for hobbyists who don't want to invest in a dedicated circuit just yet. Now, who actually benefits from this setup? If you're a small shop fabricator, a DIY automotive restorer, or a hobbyist who frequently needs to cut inch steel, stainless, or aluminum sheet, the VersaCut can save you hours that you'd otherwise spend with a handheld torch, chasing straight lines, and cleaning up rough edges. I've spoken with a few garage-based builders who said their biggest bottleneck was the time spent measuring, marking, and then trying to replicate a cut on a second piece. With the CNC controller you feed a simple DXF file, the table follows the path automatically, and you end up with repeatable, tight tolerances, something that's hard to achieve with a handheld cutter. On the flip side, if you're just looking to make occasional cuts on thin sheet metal for art projects, or you already own a high-end CNC router that can handle plasma heads, the VersaCut may feel overkill. The machine's footprint about the size of a large kitchen island means you need a dedicated space in the garage, plus clearance for the torch and the exhaust. For apartment dwellers or renters, that spatial demand can be a deal-breaker, especially when you factor in the need for proper ventilation and a fire-rated work surface. Let's talk about the actual cutting experience. The 40-amp torch, paired with the 44-inch work area, gives you a respectable 3-inch kerf on inch steel at full power. In real-world tests I've seen, users can slice through a standard 12-gauge steel plate in under a minute, with a clean edge that needs only a light bead blasting if you're after a finish quality suitable for welding. The CNC controller's LCD is intuitive enough that you don't need to be a seasoned programmer. A few button presses let you jog the torch, set 0 points, and start a cut. That said, the interface isn't as slick as some high-end machines that run on touchscreen tablets. You're looking at a basic monochrome screen with a handful of menus. It works, but there's a learning curve if you've never touched a CNC controller before. A practical weakness many first-time CNC plasma owners encounter is the torch height adjustment. The VersaCut comes with a manual height gauge, which is fine for experienced users, but if you're new, you might spend more time tweaking the gap than you anticipated. A miss at height can cause a ragged edge or excessive dross, and the machine doesn't have an automatic height sensor to correct that on the fly. In the community, people have noted that once you dial in the right settings for the material thickness you're cutting most of the time, the issue becomes less noticeable, but it's still an extra step compared to a fully automated system. Another aspect worth mentioning is the power consumption. Running at 40 amps on 110V draws a respectable amount of current. You'll want a dedicated 20-amp circuit to avoid tripping breakers during extended cuts. If you plan to run the machine for an entire day, you'll also want to think about cooling. The included water cooling pump for the torch is adequate, but you'll need to keep the reservoir topped up, especially in hotter climates. Neglecting that can lead to thermal throttling, where the cutter reduces power to protect itself, and you end up with slower cuts than advertised. Where does the value really sit? For the price point, you're getting a complete, re-adatoran system. Many competitors sell the torch and controller separately, requiring you to source a compatible frame and wiring yourself. Eastwood bundles everything, which reduces the hidden cost factor that can surprise newcomers. The satisfaction guaranteed wording on their site also signals that they expect a level of confidence in the package, And the 4.2-star rating from a small pool of reviewers suggests that most buyers who've taken the plunge are happy with the end result. If you're still on the fence, think.